charged with murdering his mother and stepfather for the sole purpose of getting their life insurance money so he could pay someone to assassinate President Trump and start a race war. On February 11th, 17-year-old Nikita Kasep killed his mother, 35-year-old Tatiana Kasep, and her husband, his stepfather, 51-year-old Donald Mayer. Nikita told police that his sole purpose of killing them was just to get their money.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commenting down below. Most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. You guys are helping grow the community. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
This is one of the strangest unsolved mysteries of all time. In 1952, 9 Russian hikers who were all super experienced set off into the Ural Mountains. However, the path that they chose to take on the hike was pretty hard, even for hikers as experienced as them. And to make things worse, they ran into a severe snowstorm that night. So all 9 of the hikers decided to set up their tents and try and wait out the storm. However, at some point during that night, the hikers cut open their tents from the inside and set off into the snowstorm. All 9 of them began to head towards some trees that were nearby their campsite. And this is where the story gets really creepy. A few days later, 3 of the 9 campers were found dead in the trees. And at the base of these trees, there were a bunch of claw marks and scratches on the trunks. And the 6 other hikers were also all found dead scattered around the area. And upon testing them, their skin and clothes appeared to be radioactive.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nurse named Kathy said that she was working a night shift caring for a man who was dying of heart failure. It was quiet, almost peaceful, until suddenly he sat upright in bed, eyes wide, locked on the far corner of the room. "He's back," he whispered. "Who's back?" Kathy asked. "The man in the top hat," he said. "He comes every night now. Tall, dark, shadowy. He just stands there watching me." Kathy glanced over, but the corner was empty. Just shadows dancing in the low light. She tried to reassure him, but he kept going. "He carries a silver stopwatch," he said, voice shaking. "Last night he opened it and said, 'It's almost time. I can't wait.'" She felt uneasy, but tried to stay professional until he looked at her, eyes full of terror. "He knows everything I've done," he said. "Things I never told anyone. Every sin, every secret. He whispered them all to me, like he'd been there, watching me my whole life." Then he said, "He's here to take me." Moments later, he flatlined, his eyes still locked on that dark corner. Kathy said that she'd never felt anything like it. The heavy air, the way the room didn't feel empty, even after the patient was gone. And just before she left, she heard a faint ticking, then a soft click, as if someone had closed a stopwatch. Kathy said that she went to confession the next day for the first time in over 10 years.
This is what would happen if you stopped sleeping. After the first 24 hours, you would feel great, which is because early on, sleeplessness stimulates a part of your brain that causes you to feel happy and energetic. But not long after this 24-hour mark, you'll start to feel sluggish, be forgetful, and appear drunk to other people. After 2 full days of not sleeping, your body would appear to lose all its energy and feel like it's shutting down. Just because your body can't properly metabolize glucose without sleep. After 3 days, your skin would become pale, your eyes would become red, and you'll start to hallucinate. Which means that your worst nightmares are going to appear real right in front of your eyes, kind of like sleep paralysis, but you're awake. And after 2 full weeks, your immune system would be so weak that the common cold would be enough to unalive you. And after 3 full weeks, there's a super high chance that you'll have a heart attack. But let me know, what was the longest you ever went without sleeping?
Tell me down below, man. I think the longest I ever went was probably like a day. That's the longest I went without sleeping. It's a whole day, man. I couldn't make it past that. Night for me, bro.
What locals did to this man's family was pure evil. This was the real-life Pennywise. In 1954, Victor Lane was a kind clown who performed at the Black Hollow Carnival in a small Ohio town. But Victor's life had always been full of pain. As a child, he lost his family in a mysterious fire that destroyed their home. The townsfolk called it an accident, but Victor overheard men joking about how the freaks got what they deserved. Despite his scars, Victor became a clown to bring happiness to others. But Black Hollow never welcomed him. They called him Creepy Smiley and spread rumors behind his back. One October night, a group of boys at the carnival decided to humiliate Victor. They set his tent on fire during his performance, destroying his props and leaving his face badly burned. The crowd laughed as Victor stumbled into the woods, his costume in tatters. After that night, the town changed. Children began disappearing. Parents would find red balloons tied to their doors or balloon animals on their porches. The mayor's son vanished after a balloon was tied to his mailbox. Some claimed they saw Victor's shadow in the woods, his smeared makeup and scarred face visible under his tattered mask. A search party found a shack deep in the forest with old carnival props, burned family photos, and a mirror etched with the words, "Who's laughing now?" But Victor was gone. Now, every October, red balloons appear around Black Hollow. Locals say it's a warning. Victor hasn't forgotten, and the clown of Black Hollow always returns. And every year, someone disappears.
These two sickening parents imprisoned their 13 kids for years. David and Louise Turpin lived in a Texas suburb home along with their 13 children. Now, the Turpin parents had actually registered their house as a school so they could homeschool their 13 kids. Other than that, they hadn't done anything too out of the ordinary. But the Turpin kids seemed pretty normal. They were often seen playing outside and even with the neighbors' children. Where some of the neighbors started noticing some strange things happening at the Turpin house. One of the neighbors actually saw one of the Turpin daughters running crazily down the street as if she was trying to escape from a threat. But that wasn't it, because another neighbor spotted the kids marching in circles upstairs and even some of the older boys digging through the trash. However, shortly after this, the parents decided to move to a house in California. But not long after that happened, the cops received a frightening call from a 17-year-old girl. She exclaimed that she just escaped from her abusive home and that her siblings were still being imprisoned there. Only a couple minutes later, the police showed up and raided the house, and you won't believe what was inside.
Times when psychics helped solve crimes. On May 15, 1976, 14-year-old Susan Jacobson left her home to go to a job interview at an ice cream parlor, but she never came back. Susan's parents contacted the police, but the police said she probably just ran away with her boyfriend Dempsey Hawkins, and they refused to search for her. 2 weeks later, Susan's parents contacted a psychic, Dorothy Allison, to help with the case. Dorothy asked what the word Mar meant, claiming she saw it in red spray paint. She also envisioned an abandoned car, dual church steeples, the smell of oil, and claimed that Susan had been strangled to death by her boyfriend. Then 2 years later, 3 boys stumbled across Susan's body as they were hunting. At the site was the word Mar, spray painted in red on a rock, dual church steeples, an abandoned car, and 2 oil drums which contained Susan's body. Plus, evidence at the scene showed that Susan had been strangled by her boyfriend Dempsey Hawkins, who was then sentenced to 22 years to life in prison.
This is why you should never read someone else's diary. Once there was a girl named Samantha who took her friends to her dad's lake house because her dad grew up in the area and actually named the lake after her, Lake Samantha. But as soon as her friends arrived, they noticed something strange. There was a doll hanging on every door in all the houses in town. Samantha explained it's because of a local urban legend. Years ago, a man escaped from an insane asylum nearby, unalived his entire family, then disappeared. Since then, people would go missing around the same time every year, so the dolls were used for protection. But after spending a day by the lake, Samantha and her friends found an old diary, half buried in the dirt near an abandoned house. They opened it up and saw multiple entries dating back to the 80s, but the most terrifying part was the last entry dated August 13, 2010. And it said, "I'm so proud of my daughter. She doesn't hear the voices and she has a lot of friends. Sometimes I take her to these woods. I even named the lake after her." That's when they all heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them. And when they turned around, they saw Samantha's father, saying, "You weren't supposed to find that. Follow for more."
It's a creepy ass story. So her father was the one behind it all? That local story? Can't even imagine that, bro. I know that blew her mind.
Just to make you all aware, these are his words, not mine. He murdered his dad because he was riding his ass. It was 11:20 p.m. on the 7th of December 2024 in Bartow, Florida. Police got a frantic call from a woman called Susan Voigt shouting that her son had shot her. Police raced over to the house in question. They were obviously aware that there was potentially a suspect there that was armed and dangerous. But there really was no time to waste. This woman could be fighting for her life potentially. When they showed up though, they found an actual murder scene. Not only had the mum Susan been shot, but there was a dad called Marvin lying deceased on the floor with gunshot wounds to his head. Inside the home, they found Susan absolutely terrified and seriously injured, and they raised her to a local hospital for treatment, and thankfully she survived. But her killer son Joseph was nowhere to be seen. Now, he clearly had fled the scene in a panic and was incredibly dangerous to the general public. So officers scoured the local area. They had loads of police units out looking for his vehicle. They'd thankfully been able to pull his vehicle details, so they were on high alert. They were driving up and down, looking down any roads that they could for the sign of his car. Then at 2 a.m. they finally tracked him down. And he admitted everything. He said that he had shot his mum and dad after a family argument. He claimed that his dad was, quote, riding his ass, end quote, about making something of himself and getting a job. He said that his parents had told him that he was spending far too much time on video games. And when the police ran his details through the system, they found that he had got an extensive criminal history. He'd had arrests for firing a weapon in a residential area and also battery. He was charged with murder for murdering his dad and the attempted murder of his mum, and has pleaded guilty.
This is the reason you should not go near the water in Alaska. It is believed that this group called the Qualipillits live in the water. They're responsible for thousands of missing people and children. The Inuit people have warned their ancestors about this tribe for thousands of years. We don't know if they're like a tribe or like creatures or like a mix between human and animal. People have cited these creatures. They said that they have long greasy hair, that they have scaly skin, almost like reptiles, and that their fingers are webbed. And they wear coats similar to this that have a pouch to carry a baby in it. These creatures are allegedly immortal. People claim that they feed on the children's youth. It's said that they hide near the edge of the water and wait until children are unsupervised. They then kind of sing or hum, and that's what lures the children over. When they're close enough, they're captured and then dive into the water. Now, this is just a myth, but do you believe it? When, like, kids go missing or when they drown, a lot of people believe that it is the Qualipillit people, but maybe it's actually parents just being neglectful. Let me know what you think, and follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
There's this teacher, Ellen Greenberg, who was found in her apartment with more than 20 different stab wounds on her body. What I can't really wrap my head around is that police are saying she did this to herself. Now, at the time, Ellen Greenberg was a teacher who was working and living out of the Philadelphia area. Everything I kind of pieced together about this is that everyone who knew her said she was bright, she was bubbly. None of this really aligned, didn't make sense, and it all changed on an early dismissal day. So the school wrapped up early, and Ellen was going to be heading home to her apartment in Philadelphia where she lived at the time with her fiancé Sam. Now, according to Sam's story, he left the apartment at 4:45 and went downstairs to the gym in the apartment, but there's no real security footage of this. I almost felt like I couldn't find security footage of the guy anywhere in the building, but he came back upstairs. Then just a half hour of him being downstairs, he came back upstairs to find his apartment door locked with the hatch lock. And again, nobody ever saw whether or not this was actually locked. They just saw it like this, broken. He walked into his kitchen. He claimed to find something horrific. Ellen was on the floor. I can't even show you the extent of these injuries, but basically, he claimed that he found her with 20 to 25 different nicks and stab wounds on her body. Upwards of 8 to 10 of these were at the base of the skull and the back of the neck, and some of which they think did damage to her spinal cord. Which never really made sense because a lot of private experts who looked at her autopsy said she wouldn't have had use of her arms. Yet the fatal wound is the one that was to her heart with a 10-inch serrated steak knife, and police said she did this to herself. And I know it's a lot to get into, so we did cover it on the podcast. Want to listen to the full episode on this, you can check it out on Creep Time, the podcast. I mean, there is a crazy amount of suspicion on the fiancé Sam, and he's never really caught on any cameras like this, like you see, but there are a lot of people who think that his family might have had something to do with the cover-up. Meanwhile, Ellen's family still holds out hope that their daughter's case is going to see justice.
Man, that long, bro, without justice? Can't even imagine what the family's going through. Something about that case ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing. You know what that is.
5 of the craziest ways that people have died in Final Destination movies, ranked in reverse order for how much they made me fear everyday life. Number 5 is a scene that made me feel pretty paranoid, but I think it's the mildest one on this list. Smashed to pieces by a flying tire. I think this just plays on the fear of being hit by random falling objects and how unpredictable that is. The way the scene was shot was diabolical, and everything I love about how out there Final Destination movies are. Now, to turn things up several notches, at number 4 is probably the most disgusting Final Destination death we've ever seen, the pool drain suction death. Basically, this guy gets sucked into a pool drain, his organs get sucked out of him through his ass, and then shot out through the pool pump. This might be number 4 on this list, but it's a 10 out of 10 for creativity. I don't know if this can realistically happen, but it definitely made me look at pool drains differently. Number 3 is the laser eye surgery death. I actually got the same type of laser eye surgery and was freaking out before because this scene made me so paranoid. It was nothing like this in real life, but Final Destination definitely played with my mind a little bit. Number 2 is the famous log truck scene. Every time I'm behind a car carrying literally anything at all, this scene is in my brain. Definitely one of the craziest Final Destination deaths that scarred me a little bit when I first saw it. But there is another scene that, in my opinion, is even worse. Number 1 goes to getting ground up by an escalator. Before I saw this scene, I never thought I would develop a fear of escalators. Also, similar situations of people getting swallowed up by escalators have allegedly happened in real life, which is what inspired this scene, and that's so terrifying to me. This scene still kind of makes me grip the sides of the escalator a little bit tighter, and it's been years since I saw it. I'm a huge fan of the Final Destination series, so if you want me to rank 5 more scenes from the previous movies, then let me know in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more horror and movie content.
This is the...
Hey man, that Final Destination, bro, the escalator one got to me, man, because I remember one time I was scared to go down the escalator. I said I refuse to go down that thing, bro. I don't care how many stairs I took, bro. Like, it just happened out of nowhere. Usually, I'm not, freaking scared of it, but one time, I just refused to take one, man. I don't know what was going on with me that day, but I just couldn't do it. They coming out with a new Final Destination movie, too, so we're gonna see what that one's about this year.
The moment Gary Hilton, aka the National Forest serial killer, confessed to murdering nurse Cheryl Dunlap in a new death row interview, a secret which he'd kept for 17 years.
The woman I killed in Tallahassee, that I have my current death sentence for, that case currently is under appeal. Right. As a matter of fact, it hasn't been finally adjudicated, but hey, I'm gonna give you a new scoop. I did it.
This is why babysitting always freaks me out. So in 2014, Sarah DeWalt was babysitting for a new family that had just moved into her neighborhood in Ohio. The family consisted of 2 young children under 10, but when Sarah showed up that night, the parents kept talking as if they had 3 children. There were 3 sets of pajamas laid out, there were 3 bowls of ice cream on the counter, but the family clearly only had the 2 kids. So that night, Sarah and the kids are winding down watching a movie when all of a sudden Sarah starts hearing noises in the house. There were footsteps shuffling like someone else was there, and she had this overwhelming feeling that she was being watched. So she gets up to check on the noise, but then the kids turn to her and say, "Oh, that's Bonnie, don't bother her." Sarah leaves it because she's freaked out, but then later that night she goes to check the nanny cam and she sees this image captured in the hallway. She stayed up until the parents came home, but she never went back after that.
Smart for her.
This 17-year-old boy was charged with murdering his mother and stepfather for the sole purpose of getting their life insurance money so he could pay someone to assassinate President Trump and start a race war. On February 11th, 17-year-old Nikita Kasep killed his mother, 35-year-old Tatiana Kasep, and her husband, his stepfather, 51-year-old Donald Mayer. Nikita told police that his sole purpose of killing them was just to get their money. When they asked why he wanted to assassinate President Trump, Nikita said, quote, "As to why specifically Trump, I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos." After Nikita killed his parents, he didn't know what to do with their bodies, so he left them exactly where they were. His mother lying dead in the hallway covered with blankets, and his stepfather in the first floor office covered with clothing. And he lived in the house for 2 weeks until Donald's mother finally called police and asked for a welfare check. Police found Nikita in Donald Mayer's car 800 miles away from their home, which was in Wisconsin. In the car was a .357 Magnum, Donald Mayer's driver's license, $14,000 in cash, and the spent shell casings. Police also found a memory card, and on it was Nikita just recording his stepfather's body after death. Very strange. Nikita Kassab has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 2 counts of hiding a corpse, 2 counts of misappropriating identification to obtain money, and theft.
The world is a crazy place, man. People really be trying to start wars out here. It's a shame. Who's in that room?
This is one of the most mysterious things that has ever happened in the abandoned town of Stonebrook. So Stonebrook was this town that was historically really dependent on mining, but once that industry kind of got up and left, almost 100% of the town's population followed. But there were still security cameras that were left over. CCTV cameras that were left over from the late 90s started to capture and transmit what appeared to be a single person who was living in that town. And what's really eerie about this footage is that they're mostly seen alone, but they're just kind of standing there. They're not really doing anything or looking anywhere. Eventually those cameras started to transmit 2 people, and the footage just got eerier because I don't even know how to explain the context of a photo like this. Still, all of this footage is very far away, right? We never really got a close-up shot of that original person until we got this in 2001. This added to the haunting collection of footage of the unknown person in that town. To this day, the lone resident of Stonebrook kind of remains this haunting relic of a forgotten city.
The hell? Look like Slender Man right there, bro.
9-year-old Jamie Kloss was trapped inside her kidnapper's home for 88 days after he killed her parents and abducted her. Now, 6 years after her escape, she is seen in new photos rebuilding her life. In pictures posted by her aunt, the 19-year-old is shown enjoying time with her family and pets, running in races, and traveling. As for Jake Patterson, he is currently serving 2 life sentences for killing Kloss's parents and 40 years for abducting Jamie.
Guys, you're gonna like this one. We have an internet magician, the card guy, who wants to get barbecued. Alright then. Man, first of all, you look like Tom Hardy if he worked at Applebee's. You look like a present-day Screech. And bro, what is up with those big-ass ears? Can you hear the future? Do you use a shower head as earbuds? And what does Neptune sound like? And that's a pretty sick beard there, Meth Rogan. Yeah, I guess if I did street magic, I'd want to hide my face too. And yeah, what kind of magic tricks do you do? I mean, you're pretty good at making smiles disappear. And do you call yourself card guy because you have to card the women you date? And what was it like being on that episode of Futurama? And was that you in that video screaming, "Just do it"? Alright, card guy, there's your roast, man. Hey dude, your magic tricks are really cool. Keep up the good work. But there's one trick I really think you should try. I want you to do that one that Siegfried and Roy did.
What the heck? Oh, he just roasted him, bro? People want to get roasted now?
Here are 3 ways that you can survive encountering Cartoon Cat. If you're not aware, Cartoon Cat is a malicious entity with many supernatural abilities, first brought to the public's attention by Canadian horror artist Trevor Henderson. The first rule you'll need to follow in order to have a chance at surviving an encounter with this creature is to avoid exploring any abandoned buildings, and especially abandoned shopping plazas and malls, as these are all places that Cartoon Cat has reportedly frequented in the past. Secondly, if you do encounter this entity, try to use the objects around you to take cover. The Cartoon Cat is a shapeshifter whose limbs can extend to unnatural lengths, so simply trying to put distance between yourself and it is an impossible task. Finally, no matter how desperate the situation becomes, don't ever try to engage Cartoon Cat in hand-to-hand combat. He is known to be the most powerful of Trevor Henderson's creatures, making him more dangerous than the infamous Siren Head, and meaning fighting him is a near-death sentence. Tag a friend if you're watching this at night, and follow for more.
Hey man, when it comes to these hands, bro, if that's all you got, that's all you got to use, man. At the end of the day, bro, you gotta defend yourself, man. Whatever you got. What's in that damn tunnel? See, I can't be exploring.
So you like anything creepy, but have you heard of the Serbian dancing lady?
Just dance in the middle of the night. about that.
In 2019, there were videos circulating online of an unknown woman dancing in the streets of Serbia late at night. She allegedly carries a weapon, and if you disrupt her while she's dancing, she will turn around, chase you down, and take your life. People say that the lady is completely innocent and she is being controlled by a demon. There's been many sightings of the dancing lady, but luckily no one has been hurt yet. Do you guys think this is real or just an urban legend? Let me know if you'd like to see more spooky videos.
So this woman, let's call her Teacher. She teaches high school, she just won Teacher of the Year, she also has a boyfriend, this guy, Tyler, and their relationship is on again, off again. But that might be about to change, because suddenly, Teacher's pregnant. So in response to that news, Tyler tells Teacher, okay, I'm taking you on an adventure, and maybe this is a proposal. So he takes her out to a nice dinner, and then he drives her out to a field in the middle of nowhere. And once they're there, he tells her he's gonna build a big house for her there. For her and the new baby, and it's gonna be great. And then, when Teacher isn't looking, Tyler pulls out a pew-pew that he had brought with him, and he aims it at the back of her head. Alright, we'll get back to this story, but first, I gotta talk about these two YouTubers, Sam and Colby. Sam and Colby are these two guys, they ghost hunt, they stay at haunted places, and they're making a video with these other two YouTubers, the Ireland Boys. Now, in the video, the four of them plan on spending the night in this very old, creepy, abandoned asylum in the forest.
A lot of people have died here, supposedly it's haunted. This is probably the sketchiest thing we've actually done.
So they go there, and while they're there, creeping around in the asylum, they hear police sirens from afar. And they're like, alright, we're not supposed to be here, we should get out of here. Then, as they're sneaking out, they see three silhouette figures coming toward the asylum.
There are people right in front of us.
And then suddenly, they hear a blood-curdling scream.
What the? Do you hear that? Get out of here! Go!
So they run, and they get the hell out of there. Then they eventually make it home, and they post the video to YouTube. And they have no idea what the hell all that was. Now, back to Teacher and Tyler. Tyler pulls out a pew-pew, and he aims it at the back of her head. Boom. Tyler pulls the trigger, and he unalives her right there in the field. A few days later, the new school semester starts, and Teacher doesn't show up to school, and no one's heard from her. Her family and friends are all concerned, no one can find her, she has completely disappeared. So police, they start investigating, and they immediately suspect Tyler. Now Tyler, he says he's innocent, he makes excuses, and even goes on live TV and gives a press conference pleading for her to come home.
There's so many people that miss you.
Now police eventually find Teacher's body in the field, and you know what else they eventually find? They find out that Teacher only thought she was Tyler's girlfriend, but in reality, she was his side piece. Tyler actually had a fiance, different woman, and he didn't want fiance to find out that he had gotten Teacher pregnant. So he takes Teacher out to the field and unalives her. And this was on the same night that Sam, Colby, and the Ireland Boys filmed this.
What the? Do you hear that?
Now the speculation is that the screams these YouTubers heard is actually Teacher being unalive. However, if you enter the location of the asylum and the location of the murder in Google Maps, they're a little over 30 miles away from each other. Also, you can't hear any gunshots in the video, and that feels like it'd be a big part of it. So I don't know if it's true. That's just what they claim. Regardless, Tyler was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, and he eventually unalived himself in his jail cell before his trial started. Shout out to Maryland.
Blumhouse just made a big change to Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and people don't know how to feel about it. I'm really excited about the animatronics that they just released in the trailer. Freddy's looking glossy. It looks like the characters are like breaking into people's homes. Here we have Mangle, horrifying. I wasn't sure who this was, but people are saying it's Springtrap, and I think they're right. Don't come for me if I'm wrong. If you look closely, Bonnie is holding a knife, but obviously we see her a little better here in the poster. We only catch a little bit of a glimpse of Chica's feet in the trailer, but once again, this is what she looks like on the poster. I'm very excited about Balloon Boy. I think they're waiting to show his laugh until the movie, or I really hope so. I hope they don't give it away in the trailer. And then we have a flashback, or I would assume it's a flashback because he's definitely dead, of William Afton. And Matthew Lillard had played William Afton, and Skeet Ulrich is playing Henry Emily in this movie. So I'm really hoping we have a little flashback moment. I predicted that a couple months ago, and I think that will happen, where they get to act together. Because, you know, they were Billy and Stu in Scream. And the big controversy is this movie is not going to be going to streaming. It will only be in the movie theaters. Like, my big question is what happens when it's out of the theater? Like, I will happily sit in that theater and watch it. But if it's not going to streaming services, what happens then? But good on Jason Blum, because people need to be getting into the theater. People need to experience the theater again. The theater is dying. Come over here for more freaky.
There Dang, so after it drops in theaters, it's not coming on streaming? That's an interesting choice. And it is seeking seen the first on Five Nights at Freddy's, man. Oh, that's a popular game, bro. Scary game. Mostly it's just jump scares though, right? Yeah, it's not really that scary. Closing the door, what the?
Hi, I'm Cam, and this innocent family was killed in a revenge plot gone wrong. 5 members of the Diol family, including their 2-year-old daughter and infant daughter, were killed in a fire on August 5th, 2020. Diol family had immigrated from Senegal to Denver to become citizens and, quote, live out the American dream. According to authorities, 3 teenage boys set fire to the Diol family house, allegedly with intention of killing those who were inside. The teens were apparently retaliating for a drug deal gone wrong. This image was captured from someone's security footage. However, the teenagers had the wrong house, killing an innocent family because of it. 16-year-old Gavin Seymour and Kevin Bowie were arrested 6 months after the murders and are being charged as adults. Police are working on the 15-year-old suspect being charged as an adult as well. They face 60 felony charges that include multiple counts of murder, arson, burglary, and conspiracy. The 15-year-old faces 47 counts. The remains of the Diol family house were torn down the same day the teens were charged. Screenshots were taken of Kevin Bowie's Instagram and someone commented, "How do you live with yourself?" His caption reads, "Let's see who's next on my homie list," with a devil emoji and casket emoji.
If there's a teenager in your life you even think you care about, you need to listen to this because it could save their life. It's the evening of February 28, 2025, and 16-year-old Eli Heacock is in his bedroom texting with his mother about plans for the next day. Just an hour later, Eli's twin sister would find him on the ground suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Now, Eli was your average high school sophomore in Glasgow, Kentucky. He was a total green flag. His mom said every now and then he would ask to go buy flowers and pass them out to the community just to make people feel good. He was responsible, he was caring, he had friends, he suffered from no mental health issues, he was just a good kid. After finding him, his family called 911 and rushed him to the hospital where he died from his injuries. Both local and federal investigators were looking into what happened to Eli, and before they left the hospital, they knew he was a victim of sextortion. Sextortion starts when a predator reaches out to a victim on social media. They'll try to get the victim to send them pictures, sometimes sexual, sometimes just a selfie, and other times they don't need a picture. If the victim sends them a sexual picture, their work is done. If they get a selfie or take any picture off the internet, they can use AI to make the pictures look extremely inappropriate. They'll then demand money from the victim or threaten to post these pictures on social media. In Eli's case, it took just 45 minutes to create such a panic in his mind, he thought the only option was to take his own life. Eli's predators told him if he did not send them $3,000, they would release these AI-generated pictures of him or hurt his family. God bless Eli, he took the only money he had, $50, and sent it to the predator, who told him it wasn't good enough. He then texted his best friend asking if he could borrow money. His best friend didn't know what was going on and sent him all he had, which was $8. Convinced within 45 minutes that his life was literally over, Eli took his own life. And if you think Eli is special, he is not. He's one of thousands of kids going through this torment. Listen to these stats. In 2022, 10,731 cases were reported. In 2023, 1 year later, 26,718 cases were reported. Please talk to your kids. Let them know if this happens to them, it's okay to talk to you. They're not going to be in trouble. There are websites that can help, and I will link one below.
Talking about the World Cup, let's talk about how this soccer player was murdered after he lost the game. On June 22nd, 1994, Andres Escobar, who was the captain of Colombia's soccer team, was playing against the US and scored in his own net during the World Cup. Colombia ended up losing the game 2-1 and was eliminated. 10 days later, Andres was confronted by a group of men outside a club in the city of Medellin. These men began harassing Andres and making fun of him for shooting in his own net, and even though he tried to reason with them, they
they shot him 6 times. The next day, police arrested Umberto Castromunoz, who was associated with powerful criminals and drug traffickers. It's been said that the criminals that Umberto was working with were betting a lot of money on Colombia to win, and when they lost because of Andres' mistake, then they ordered Umberto to murder him. Umberto was sentenced to 43 years in prison, but only served 11 years before being released for good behavior. More than 120,000 people attended Andres' funeral, and Colombia created a statue of him in 2002.
Over some money, bro? Over a soccer game as well?
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 17. There's an 8-year-old boy named Amarjit Sada who became the world's youngest serial killer after murdering his 6-year-old cousin, his baby sister, and a neighbor's newborn daughter. The CIA has a legitimate heart attack gun, and it was exposed to the public in the late 1970s. Project Sunshine was research conducted by the US government in which, after the atomic bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a network of agents was recruited to locate recently deceased children and steal their body parts for testing on radiation. Both the US and Russia used dolphins and whales to spy on various countries. The FBI sent an anonymous letter to Martin Luther King Jr. telling him to kill himself. It reads, "King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is." Guys, I just released my first YouTube video. I'm sure you'll love it. Link in bio.
That's crazy. I never knew that last part, especially concerning Dr. Martin Luther King, man. Goes to show y'all sometimes how corrupt our nation is. And use whales and dolphins to spy on other countries, USA and Russia. What the hell? They train the animals to be capable of that? Got eyes and ears everywhere.
Worst plane crash ever recorded.
That's an edit. We knew how to call those out, Seekers. He literally caught it at the end. Sad as well.
Never listen to this song if you're in the Philippines. It's called My Way by Frank Sinatra. If you listen to this song in the Philippines, you might literally die. It's so cursed that it has its own crime class there. It has been even banned in karaoke bars. It used to incite people at bars and led to a large amount of killings. But won't you listen to it?
No, not hearing knowing that information.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 12. I guess you could start saying that zombies are real, and the reason I say that is because there is a sickness called walking corpse syndrome, in which the brain starts to believe that it's dead and that it has no soul, and it starts to make you act like a zombie. Yikes. So while we're talking about zombies, I thought I would go ahead and mention this fact to you. Back in the day, there was a serial killer named Jeffrey Dahmer, and what he would do with his victims is he would try to make sex zombies out of them by drilling holes in their head and pouring acid down the hole. There were over 15 dead bodies found in Benjamin Franklin's basement. Is there something the history books aren't telling us? I didn't even want to say this one because it kind of freaked me out too, but if you get bruises a lot, it could be signs of a spirit trying to contact you, as well as a lot of other ways. A man was once being held at gunpoint on a video on the dark web and was forced to eat his wife's organs or he would have died.
Here is how you can survive a piranha attack. Let's say that you find yourself in the Amazon River surrounded by piranhas. What you should do is first of all stay as still as possible and don't make any kind of noise. Don't even scream for help, because they locate their prey with their excellent hearing. Now start moving really slow towards deeper water, where it's colder and the currents are stronger, so there won't be any piranhas there. But you may find a crocodile. But hey, now you know how to survive a piranha attack.
Would you guys take that advice, man? For the piranha attacks?
Why you should never do this. This is 17-year-old Michael Dumas. He was on a church trip to Florida with some of his friends. While on this trip, they went to Pompano Beach, and he would be buried in the sand as you see here. He'd soon be unburied and all would be well until later that night when he would wake up in the middle of the night and be itching like crazy and sweating. At first, this would be labeled as an ear infection and he would be sent home with drops, but it would soon be obvious that that's not what it was, as he started to develop these raised, bumpy rashes. and he became pretty lethargic, just wanting to sleep all the time. It got even worse to the point where he was having these big nasty blisters. And that's when he finally would be diagnosed with cutaneous larva migrans, which is pretty much dog or cat hookworm. So pretty much these work by the dog or the cat pooping in the sand and contaminating it, and then not long after, these microscopic larvae hatch, and then you step in this contaminated sand and you end up looking like Michael. After all of this, he ended up developing a staph infection as well. And if it's not bad enough just him getting infected, 5 others from this trip got infected with hookworm as well.
Okay, because that...
Shoot, I'm never probably about to go walk on the beach again, man. Not with my freaking bare foot. Goes to show you, you never knew. I didn't even know something like that was possible, man. People bringing their pets on the beach and letting them pee and poop and not cleaning it up. I like what it caused. Wearing socks from now on the beach.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw the video. Like, I've met goats before, okay? Their eyes are hella creepy and they look like this. Now tell me what the hell that is. And that's why many people believe that this is actually a skinwalker trying to enter the girl's home. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then watch my latest video. It's staring into my soul.
It is. I'm about to say Skinwalker. I was just about to say that. We've seen that a couple of times watching these clips together, man. So that was my logical guess. Let's just go. Edit. Twin paradox theory.
Let me get a pair of twins. All right? They're born the same time. They're the same age. And now one of them I will send off at 90% the speed of light. And the other I'll keep down here on Earth. So we can ask, how does their aging rates compare? Okay? Turns out, this twin that I've already sent, his clock ticks 44% as fast as this twin's clock. Our clock here on Earth. So, this twin is aging more slowly than this one. That's at 90% the speed of light. Let's pump it up some more. How about 99% the speed of light? Now the time ticks at only 14% the rate, as it does back here on Earth. How about 99.9%?
Keep pushing
We're getting
it.
closer and closer to the speed of light itself. And at that speed, the clock ticks only 4.5% as fast.
Slower.
So, what does this mean? Tell you what it means. This twin that traveled for 5 years and comes back, if they went at 99.9% the speed of light, after 5 years, they're 5 years older. We have aged 110 years.
Damn.
It's called the twin paradox.
These are videos you can never watch at night. We all know how there's some videos where you just can't watch them at night because they're that scary. Well, in this series, I'll be showing you all of those videos. So, be ready to get terrified.
Bring it on.
Who are you? What? What's wrong with you?
The hell?
Well, I know I'm not sleeping after watching that video. This video has been going viral recently and nobody knows the origins of it. It shows what appears to be a ghostly woman standing outside of some man's window at night. And she says something took her daughter and did this to her. But nobody knows what that is. The man who uploaded the video hasn't updated anybody on if he's seen her again, or if he's okay, leaving people to worry about him. But I can't imagine looking out my window at night and seeing this.
Let's talk about this picture. This is why if I ever have kids, I'll never let them use the bathroom alone. A 7-year-old girl and her mom were headed to Target, and she was getting some clothes for school. Her mom also wanted to grab some snacks for movie night. So while her mom went to go grab popcorn and other snacks, she told her daughter to go pick out clothes for school. When her daughter finally finished and picked out the clothes, she went up to her mom and said something strange happened. A sad pale lady had came up to her, telling her that she wished she could have her own daughter that looked just like her. The mom, who thought the daughter was just joking around, laughed it off and said, "Let's go." While heading to the register, the daughter shook her mom and said, "That's the lady who told me she wanted a daughter just like me." pointing at a mannequin. The mom laughed, thinking the daughter was still being silly. You know how kids have wild imaginations, always playing around. While at the register, the daughter had to go to the bathroom. So the mom told her to hurry up. It was only a couple hours down, by the way. While in the bathroom, the daughter texted the mom saying the pale lady's in here who wanted a daughter. The mom, trying to get in a rush back home to her other kids, said, hurry up, we have to go. Stop playing around. 10 minutes later, and the daughter never came out. The mother, who was waiting outside the bathroom at this time, rushes in the bathroom to see what the heck is going on. The daughter was nowhere to be found. She even checked the stalls to see if her daughter was hiding, standing on a toilet or something. On one of the stalls, she found her daughter's cell phone on the floor. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite fruit. Mine is mangoes. When she checked her phone, this was the last image found in it. Police still to this day have no explanation on what happened to that little girl.
Like what your kids say, man. You might think they have a wide imagination.
These two sisters had a competition to see who could get their dad to sleep with them first. Yeah, you did hear that right. This brings us to Travis Fieldgrove and his 17-year-old daughter, Samantha Kirshner. So in 2018, Samantha would express interest to her mom that she wanted to meet her dad, as she had always longed for him to be in her life. And they'd start to grow closer, and she'd also form a close relationship with her half-sister in the process. So at this time, her half-sister and Samantha are fighting for her dad's attention, and they come up with this competition to see who can get the dad to sleep with him first. And it really wouldn't take that long, because in September of 2018, Samantha and her dad would sleep together for the first time, and then a month later, they'd get married. The mom had no idea what was going on, but she soon gets a clue and contacts the police, where Sam is brought in and confesses that her and her dad have been getting it on, and she says that both her and her dad didn't believe that they were actually related. Police are quick to say, why would you do this, since there's a possibility that you all are related, and she says the jealousy of fighting for attention just got to her, and she just wanted to win this competition. A DNA test would take place, and he was the father, and they'd both be arrested in 2019. Travis would get 2 years in prison, and Sam would get 9 months probation and 22 days in jail. Travis is now out of jail in order to have no contact with Samantha, and he says that his life after jail is going great.
I'm going great. Do you know what you just did? You damn sicko. What the heck? This world, man. Edit. Call it like we see it, man.
What are you doing? This is important. Keep driving. No, it's not. Stop. Come on, man. I got a family. What are you doing? I got a family too. Now drive. What are you doing? Please stop. I have 4 kids. What are you doing?
What you just saw were some of the final moments of Uber driver Christy Spicuzza's life. This is an extremely sad and horrific story. Christy Spicuzza was a mother from Pennsylvania who worked for Uber. She had a loving family, and on the night of February 10th, 2022, she was expecting to just work her normal shift on Uber. But on that tragic night, Christy picked up this man, Calvin Crew. Now, Christy had a dash cam video camera which was facing her and her passengers. And for the first 20 minutes or so of this ride, Calvin just sat in the back seat, not saying anything, and Christy even tried to ask him questions like, did you have a good day? How's it going? But at one point, Calvin pulls out a pistol, places it against Christy's skull, and informs her that she needs to drive. Now, Christy would continue to drive, and she begged the man in the back seat for her life, talking about her amazing children and her family and how it doesn't have to go like this, but it seems like Calvin's mind was already decided. And just 2 days later, Christy's car and her dead body were found in a neighboring area. Calvin had forced Christy to drive out to an isolated wooded area and murdered her out in the woods. After the murder, Calvin had used Christy's cell phone to access some of her financial apps like Cash App and sent himself some money, but it wasn't even a very large sum of money that this man stole. Calvin's girlfriend, Tanaya Mullen, was actually the one who called the Uber for her boyfriend that night. And she had even texted him that evening and said, I'm not going to jail if we get caught. Which is true because she never ended up going to jail or prison for her involvement in this horrifically sad crime.
What?
This is just such a tragic story that obviously did not need to happen, and that footage is some of the most horrifying that I've ever seen.
A 14-year-old boy.
Man, see, people who driving Lyft or Uber, bro, they really taking a risk out here nowadays, because you know how the world is crazy. So if you're driving Lyft or Uber, man, you just always have to be prepared. I'm skeptical about getting in those rides myself.
boy named Sebastian Guerrero decided to go for a walk up in the mountains, and he wanted to go explore the different caves. There was light coming out of one of the cave entrances, and he's starting to hear sounds. He realizes it's definitely a person, and they're definitely screaming. There also sounds to be a large contingent of other people, and he peeks his head right around the edge of the opening, and he looks inside, and what he sees causes him to just freeze in terror. He would run nearly 10 miles to the nearest police station. The way he described it to police was he basically thought he saw vampires. One of the police officers, his name was Luis Martinez, he would say, okay kid, bring me to this cave and I'll have a look around. Later on in the day, the other police officers, they realized that Luis and the boy had not returned yet. The police and the Mexican army, they head out to where this cave was, and when they saw what was inside the cave, it would shock the world.
What was it? Damn it. They always do that, man.
This is the scariest story about the lunch lady. There was a lunch lady named Judy, and everybody in school loved her. But they loved her food even more. Every single day, they would rush to the lunchroom just to eat her delicious food. But one day, a boy in 7th grade noticed something strange. In the back of the kitchen, he saw a mysterious door he'd never seen before. And he's been buying lunch for a year straight. He then went to the principal's office and told him what he saw. The principal then made his way down to the lunchroom and asked Judy about the door. She played dumb for a little bit, but eventually showed him. And what he saw inside made him freeze in horror. Inside were multiple children's dead bodies, completely cut up and strung up on the wall. Judy then looked at the principal with a smile on her face and said, "How do you think my food tastes so good? This is the reason why." Judy was arrested and fired, and is now serving 105 years in prison. But the crazy part is, how did this school allow a lunch lady to kill students and then sell their meat as lunch food?
They had no idea what was going on. We're gonna have to do a deep dive into that story. That's a chilling story, man.
People who live streamed their passings, part 1. Here we have 19-year-old Ocean, who was from France, and she worked at a retirement home. On May 10th, 2016, she would go live on what would be her last Periscope of her life. She'd start this live in her apartment, talking about how depressed she was and how she couldn't really find the energy to get out of bed. She'd also go on to talk about her ex and how bad of a person he was and how that he had abused her. Even with all this, she'd be picked on and made fun of in the comments throughout the whole live. During this live, she would warn her younger viewers and tell them to sign off, as she has something very big planned as her way to send a message. But like I said, nobody was really taking her too seriously. Eventually, she'd end up leaving her apartment and heading over to Egley train station, where she would sadly throw herself right into a train, and this train would hit her, and unfortunately, she would not survive. This would all be captured on live, and the next thing you'd see would be one of the first responders attempting to end the live stream, and he would actually do that at around 4:30.
Interview with People magazine, Gypsy Rose and her husband Ryan Anderson are sharing their love story. The couple got married in a prison ceremony in July 2022, but up until this point we hadn't really known the details of how they met. But shortly before she was released, both Gypsy and Ryan spoke with People magazine and shared some more details of their love story. Ryan Anderson is a 37-year-old special education teacher originally from Gypsy's home state of Louisiana. He told People that they first met back in 2020 when he decided to take a chance and write to her. He said, "It was when Tiger King was really popular. My coworker at the time said, I want to write to Tiger King. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you write to him, I'll write to Gypsy Rose Blanchard." In that first letter, Ryan told Gypsy, quote, "what her story meant to me, and on the second page, I just let her have it. I told her everything about me." He didn't expect to hear back, but by May 2020, the two were corresponding regularly. Ryan said that he would get butterflies when he got an email from Gypsy. And when the two spoke on the phone for the first time and he heard her voice, that all but sealed the deal for him. Gypsy was also falling in love as Ryan, quote, became her emotional backbone. She said that they met when the pandemic was really strong and she had a lot of emotional ups and downs because of it. She said, "Ryan has seen me through some really good times, some really hard times. I would say that he is probably the most compassionate soul that I've ever met and the most patient." She said, "I could be a lot to handle. I could be an emotional handful, but he is so patient with her." Because of restrictions thanks to the pandemic, they didn't meet in person until July 2021. But they continued to get closer, and according to the interview with Peephole, Ryan became so in tune with Gypsy's emotions that he could tell how she was feeling as soon as she picked up the phone. Gypsy said, "We've been able to build this emotional bond that within 2 seconds of talking on the phone, he knows my emotions." She said, "I'm thankful that I have a man that is open enough with his own emotions so I could let my emotions flow." On July 21st, 2022, Gypsy and Ryan got married in a prison ceremony. And today, December 28th, 2023, he was the one to pick her up when she was released. Gypsy also mentioned in the interview with Peephole that she wants kids one day. She said, "It's hard because I'm going into a new life and I'm newly married and I'm going to have kids one day and I'm going to have to explain to my kids why their grandmother on mommy's side isn't around. And that's going to be a really hard conversation." But by all accounts, it seems like Gypsy is really happy with Ryan and that he has been there supporting her through a lot. So hopefully he will be continuing to support her as she adjusts to her new life.
This is this. We all know how that ended. Didn't she like break up with him? They got divorced and she went back to his ex, so it ain't did too well for her ex, her other ex. Damn.
Scary story about the Peephole. A 15-year-old girl named Donna lived with her father in a very small house. Ever since her mother died, Donna had depended on her dad for everything. One morning, Donna's father was leaving for a business trip. He then told her that he won't be back until later that night. And with that, he kissed Donna on the forehead and left. Later that day, when Donna came home from school, she did some homework and watched TV. The clock then struck midnight, and she noticed her father still wasn't back, so she decided to go to bed. That night, Donna had a dream. She found herself standing on the edge of a busy highway. She then looked across the highway and saw a familiar figure standing there. It was her father, and his hands were cupped around his mouth trying to yell something. But Donna couldn't make out what he was saying. She noticed her father's eyes were very sad, and he seemed to be desperately trying to communicate with her. She could barely make out the words he was saying, but it sounded like "don't open the door." Suddenly, Donna woke up to a tapping noise. Then somebody rang the doorbell. Donna then scrambled out of bed, got dressed, and ran down to the front door. Looking through the peephole, she saw her father's face outside. He was staring right at her, and the doorbell was still ringing. "Okay, hold on, I'm coming," she shouted. She pulled back the deadbolt and was about to unlatch the door when she stopped. She then looked through the peephole again, and she noticed there was something off about her father's expression. His eyes were wide open, and he looked terrified. She then slid the deadbolt back into place. "Dad, did you forget your keys?" Donna yelled. The doorbell just kept ringing. "Dad, answer me." Still, the doorbell continued to ring. "Dad, please, I need you to answer me. Is there someone else out there with you?" Still, the doorknob continued to ring. She then yelled at the top of her lungs, "I'm not opening the door until you answer me." The doorbell kept ringing and ringing, but for some reason, her father refused to answer her desperate cries. For the rest of the night, Donna sat in the corner next to the door, crying and helplessly listening to the doorbell ringing over and over again. She then eventually fell asleep. In the morning when she woke up, she noticed it was very quiet. She then got up and went over to the peephole and looked inside. Her father was still there, just staring at her. She then cautiously opened the door and was confronted with a sight that filled her with unimaginable horror. Her father's severed head was hanging from a nail above the door, and there was a note attached to the doorbell. In weird sloppy handwriting, it read, "Clever girl."
So she ain't fall for the trick. She had a dream.
Project is definitely one of those. It's one of the most disturbing experiments I've ever read about. Sometime in July of 2003, there was a government document that was declassified that talked about an experiment that took place back in 1945, post-war. It was led by Dr. Albert Weston and a team, and their task was to create a biological weapon out of a human. And for some reason, he decided the subject of this experiment was going to be his daughter, Habitable. It was a series of months where she was fed growth hormones, they gave her classified substances, and she had her entire body surgically modified. But the experiment was a failure. She had completely lost touch with who she was no longer cognizant of what was going on, and most of her instincts had reverted into primal instincts. Considering what the doctor had done to his daughter, he would take his life after 2 years into the experiment, and according to these documents, the experiment, meaning her, was lost. Nobody really knows what happened to her.
Never say this out loud, or you will die. There's a cursed Japanese poem called Tornado's Hell. And supposedly, if you read it out loud, you will die or be cursed for life. Now you can read it in your head. This is where things get crazy. A man named Suji Teriyama decided to make and direct a movie based on the poem. Exactly 1 week after the release of the movie, he suddenly dropped dead. By the way, y'all, I asked y'all to name our new baby, and the highest voted name was Steve. So I guess when this guy hatches, his name will be Steve.
Since we got this baby together, you do owe me child support.
Now this other story is also crazy. There was a schoolgirl that was dared to say the poem out loud. Look, you got friends daring you to do stuff like that. You need to get rid of them. Literally 1 week after doing the dare, she suddenly dropped dead.
Woo, look at that, baby. Look at that. Sheesh.
I flashed the poem somewhere in this video, but I'm telling you, if you find it, don't read it out loud. Or I'm gonna come to your funeral and tell everybody you're stupid. You're stupid.
Okay. Stay away from that poem, Seekers.
This is the scariest story about It Won't Hurt, and it's absolutely shocking.
Alright.
There was a bus driving late at night, and it was completely packed full of people. Suddenly, an old woman on the bus became ill, and she asked the bus driver to stop the bus. They were on a country road surrounded by a forest, so the driver told her to wait. But the old woman began to throw a fit, screaming and yelling at the bus driver, demanding him to stop the bus. The bus driver then pulled over to the side of the road, and the old woman got out and ran into the woods. When the old woman came back from the woods, she was holding a little girl's hand who was crying. When they got back on the bus, everybody asked the little girl what was wrong. She said her mother brought her into the woods and placed her on a tree, then tied a rope around her neck and said, "Whenever you get bored, just jump. Don't worry, it won't hurt."
What?
The old woman said she didn't know why, but she felt something was wrong in the woods. And when she got in the woods, she caught the girl while she was jumping. The bus driver then began to drive again, and he suddenly saw a young woman standing on the road. He then stopped the bus. When the young woman got on the bus, the little girl stood up and said, "Mommy, you promised it wouldn't hurt."
Oh, hell no. It's like they saved it from her mom, man. What the hell? Creepy story. With the world today, man.
On May 29th of this year, Natalie Reynolds went live on Kick, and shortly after it started, she is seen trying to convince a woman to jump into the lake. The woman then claims that she cannot swim but only float. Natalie then says,
"I'll give you $20. $20? Yeah, that's a.
The woman then jumps into the water, followed by the staff running down the dock, and Natalie acts as if she wasn't just trying to convince the woman to jump in the water. Instead of helping the woman that she knows cannot swim, her and her friends leave the scene and are making jokes about the fact that Natalie thought she was just drunk and not mentally ill.
"I can't swim. I can only float."
She literally died.
No, stop. Seriously, don't stop. Please, you're actually freaking me out. No! She said she's drowning. She said she's drowning.
I think you literally just murdered her.
No, I didn't.
Nah, this is bad.
What the hell?
Since then, Natalie has received a lot of hate, and several people are claiming she should be charged with attempted murder. What are your thoughts?
That's crazy, man. You know, kick streaming, bro. Those kick streamers, I've been hearing a lot about them, how they just be doing like degenerate stuff on the internet. They be doing anything and everything for clout views. That goes to show you, man, how far a person would do just to get some attention. That's actually insane.
Ask you, can you tell that there is something wrong with the picture that I'm going to show you? This one is really interesting. So the information I could find on the photo is that we think it was taken by a realtor. He had gone alone to basically inspect a home that was foreclosed on that he was about to put on the market. What's odd about this photo is that if you look at it really closely, you're like, the photo is kind of blurred, like it was taken in motion, because in the background there is something very wrong. Quickly before we get into it, thank you so much for all of the support for my podcast, Creep Time the Podcast. You don't even know how to process being top 10 in the country. That is incredible. If you have not listened, go click the link in my bio. Seen in the background of that photo, it was very clear that he was not alone in that basement. Although he claimed he didn't see anything, he just got a strange feeling, so he kind of took the photo and then rushed out of the room. But this person was confirmed to not be the homeowner. So who was hiding out in that basement?
Who was that? He didn't even see him there?
This is the disturbing cryptid iceberg with actual evidence behind it. Would have posted this video sooner, but it was my birthday 2 days ago and I was out of town, so I'll make sure I give you guys some good ones to make up for me being gone. Okay, so this picture represents cryptids from the least disturbing to the most, and we've already covered this one, so we're gonna go on to tier 3.
Okay.
This is the Dave Shealy's 2000 skunk ape footage, and what you're seeing is in the Florida Everglades, and you can see this skunk ape just moving. I mean, look how quick it is walking. A lot of people believe that this footage is real just because if you've ever been to the Florida Everglades, there's no way somebody can move that fast. Next one is the ivory-billed woodpecker video, and this was an animal that was supposed to be extinct I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, and this one is actually confirmed. It's gonna be a little tough to see, but you'll see over here this little bird flying like this. I don't know, it's pretty cool to me. This is the Pennsylvania white Bigfoot video, and what you're looking at is supposed to be a Sasquatch. I don't know, it doesn't really look like Bigfoot to me. The interesting about this video is when they posted this video, they put a white Sasquatch. Was a really big claim, but what they didn't know is in 1973, 2 girls reported seeing the exact same white Sasquatch in basically the same spot. If you guys want to see tier 4, make sure to like and follow for more videos, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. If your plane is crashing into the water, just know that flight attendants are trained to not allow any dead bodies on life rafts. That means no saving grandma for her funeral, simply yeet that bitch overboard.
What?
1 out of every 50 women have a third nipple, and 1 out of every 100 men do too. This is known as a supernumerary nipple, and Mark Wahlberg actually has one. Harry Styles has 2. Your baby foreskin can be used as replacement skin for burn victims. That means one can quite literally be a dick face. There are corn stars born in the year 2003. That's the same year The Cat in the Hat came out. Male fetuses get boners in the womb, and these can often be seen on ultrasounds. Motherfucker. After 49 people were killed at the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, cops were investigating the scene, and you'd think it'd be pretty quiet in there. But it was actually filled with sounds of ringing cell phones. Friends, family members, loved ones, calling the people that they knew were at Pulse and hoping they'd answer the phone and say they were okay.
Crazy. I didn't know in males and the fetus they get boners when and the fetus. What the hell? That young? I didn't even know that was seemingly possible. What the more you know. Tap in, you're gonna learn with us.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest.
On May 26, 2020, Clint Brower went to a laundromat to do some laundry when he noticed a man acting suspicious. That man was Micah Harrington. According to reports, Clint believed Micah had intentions to hurt people, so Clint pulled out a knife and stabbed him over 30 times. And to be clear, Micah never acted out in violence. He then tied a rope around Micah, dragged him into the parking lot, having hopes that someone would, quote, put him back together. If that doesn't make sense to you, it also doesn't make sense to me. When police arrived, Clint was arrested and Micah was pronounced deceased. The mugshot in itself is eerie to know that he was smiling just after taking an innocent man's life. And as of Monday, June 3rd, 2024, Clint has been sentenced to life in prison. What are your thoughts?
Saw the report.
Damn.
Scientists found the largest male specimen of the most venomous spider in the world in Australia. This is the funnel web spider, and the size of it is disgusting, but the thing that freaks me out about it is the strength of the damn thing. We're talking fangs so sharp they can apparently crack through a fingernail. A fingernail?
Oh.
What? And nothing prepared me to actually see a close-up of the fangs. Baby, this is a woolly mammoth.
Creepy facts that you shouldn't read. Your mind gets sense when someone is staring at you even when you're asleep, which explain why you randomly wake up during the night. Spirits are more active at night and mostly exist in air-conditioned rooms. They look and stare at you at night. They read your mind and try to speak and show your future dreams. Follow if you're scared.
Has that happened to any of you guys, Seekers? Especially about, like, waking up at night?
Breaking news, they've officially released Riley Strain's toxicology results. This information was released today by the Tennessee's chief medical examiner. The report shows that Riley Strain's blood alcohol level was more than twice the legal limit. His blood alcohol level was 0.228, and he also had Delta-9 in his system. Delta-9 is a classic form of THC. This would be the THC you heard about in health class growing up. The effects of Delta-9 are typically increased appetite, elation, relaxation, talkativeness, and laughter. The report still classifies Riley Strain's passing as accidental, and there were no signs of significant trauma. His exact COD is listed as, quote, drowning in ethanol intoxication. Riley Strain's family is doing their own investigation into his passing to see if he was overserved or if any foul play took place. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Did you know that the Crypt Keeper from Tales of the Crypt actually has Chucky's eyes? The dolls were made by the same person, and when HBO started running out of money to make the show, they needed him to just start using parts he had lying around, so the doll's actually made with a lot of the animatronics that Chucky used and his eyes. Now you know.
The murder of McKinley Chick-fil-A Marie has to be my favorite case of all time. Like, I actually get butterflies in my stomach every time I revisit this case. I'm just so fascinated by the killer. He was so dedicated. He was gorgeous. Super, super dreamy. Like, if he wasn't behind bars, I would probably be with him. And just how dedicated he was to chopping her into bits and pieces. I mean, he really had no remorse, and we almost have to appreciate that. Like, the fact that he carried this chainsaw around for miles and miles, and after chopping her up, it just wasn't enough that he decided to also set on fire. I'm like, there's something hot about that. Siri, play This Girl Is on Fire. We can make jokes now, guys. It's been a long time. The best part about this is that this killer had no remorse. During the court hearing, he actually sat and looked her family members dead in the eyes. Dead, get it, guys? And he actually just laughed the entire time. And you know what? I can appreciate a man who doubles down. Also, disclaimer before people get their panties in a twist, I'm being super, super respectful of the family. I'm only sharing things that I've seen already on the internet, so I'm not making things up. These are just facts, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
That was a POV they said of how, you know, some, I guess, how they be acting when they explaining these videos. You know, some of them, yeah, they have to, actually all of them need to have respect to the families on what they reporting on, because it's really affecting people. Words have power. Remember that. Edit. You know how to spot them out.
So check this out. A YouTuber just found the devil in Alaska. What? The footage at the end is the scariest thing I've ever seen, fam. It's crazy. It's crazy. Luke Nichols, a popular YouTuber from the United States, has just encountered Satan himself in the mountains of Alaska. This is the reason nobody wants to visit Alaska, bro. This is terrifying. So Luke, known for his love for the outdoors, a veteran for outdoor extreme camping and survival, getting the nickname Luke the Nuke Nichols. He had been exploring the Alaskan mountains nearby the Noam territory. The fierce weather conditions made his trip more difficult. He was out on his snowmobile on his way to catch some fish with his son when suddenly they came across a random hole in the ground. They were terrified. They immediately turned back but heard a voice calling out. He turned around, and within the darkness of the night he saw horns, then flames, and realized he was staring into the eyes of the devil. He took out his phone to video it. To see the video, comment Mr. Nightmare, and we will send it via DM.
Oh. Is that like a cat?
Has anybody ever heard of the Silent Man ritual? It's a ritual that you should never do. Who is the Silent Man, you may ask? The Silent Man is a demon that was casted down from heaven, a demon that hates noise. Many people say if you play this game and win, you'll gain never-ending good luck and fortune. However, many people who played and lost say that they've got everything in their lives, everything good, taken away from them. But not only that, but a lot of people who play the Silent Man ritual have reported that they've actually lost their voice over time after playing this game. If you look at it, it makes a lot of sense. The Silent Man hates noise. They say to call upon the Silent Man. First step is to turn off all the electronics in your house. The second step is to light a candle and go to a window. Supposed to whisper quietly at the window. Silent Man, I invite you in. Say around 25 times. Now you have to understand, to win this game, that you have to stay quiet. You'll see a man outside your window. The more noise you make in your house, the closer this man will get to your house, until he's inside your house. This is why I recommend nobody to play this game. Do you guys think I should play this game on live stream? Then heart this video and follow my account. Let me know in the comments. Y'all, this picture...
I never play those freaking games, those ritual games. That's just like bad energy, bad juju all around. I completely stay away from those, man. I don't see how people can even risk that. That ain't me.
It makes me so sad but so happy at the same time. But this is an updated photo of the Menendez brothers. If y'all are not familiar with the Menendez brothers case, it is an old case. I really feel like they should not be in prison for what they did. But they unalived their parents and they got charged with it. And after going to court and talking about basically that they were SA'd over the course of their childhood, and the reason why they did this is because it got really bad and they felt like they had no other way out. They were still convicted of it and charged with, I believe, life in prison. But there have been a lot of petitions to get them out of prison and get, you know, a retrial or consideration to let them out or give them lesser time or something, because these men have been in prison like so long. And look at them, y'all. They look so good. Like, this makes me so, I don't know why this picture makes me so happy.
What do you guys think about that case? Like I said, a lot of people's calling for their release. They got out. I want to see you guys' thoughts down below on that one. They fled. Tax money. The root of all evil. Maybe that's how they was able to afford that house and that car. Tax fraud. They just got up and vanished like ghosts and they couldn't catch you? The whole mansion. They just had to pack up and disappear. So they got away with it. They didn't even get caught. Come on, man. You gotta be on top of things like that. So people can't get away with that, man. Lived in that big ass.
16-year-old girls that brutally unalived their best friend because they didn't like her anymore. Skylar Neese may have been an only child, but she had a sister-like bond with her best friend Sheila. The girls were like two peas in a pod and did everything together. Their freshman year of high school, they added a third best friend, Rachel, making them an inseparable trio. Like most friend groups in high school, there was some jealousy, like if two of the friends hung out and didn't invite the third, you know, stuff like that. And that's how Skylar was feeling going into their sophomore year of high school. Like Sheila and Rachel were getting closer and kind of kicking Skylar out. Then in the middle of the night on July 6, 2012, Skylar snuck out of her house and never came home. Skylar was missing. Her parents are panicked. Her best friends Sheila and Rachel are acting concerned as well. Sheila would spend a lot of time with Skylar's parents, supporting them, crying with them, asking for updates, and asking if there was anything she could do to help. And the longer that Skylar was missing, the more that rumors started to spread. From things like Skylar ran off with a boyfriend, to Skylar fled after robbing a bank, to Skylar's best friends Sheila and Rachel were involved. At this point, the investigators were actually pretty convinced that Sheila and Rachel knew more than they were letting on. Both of the girls' stories were like nearly identical, like they had been rehearsed. At this point, the police's theory was that the three girls snuck out the house to maybe use substances and something accidentally happened to Skylar, and Sheila and Rachel were just covering it up because they were scared of getting in trouble. They could have never prepared for what actually happened. Following Skylar's disappearance, Sheila was like pretty carefree, but Rachel, on the other hand, was having a nervous breakdown and had to be admitted to a psychiatric facility. And upon release, Rachel confessed that her and Sheila had stabbed Skylar 50 times and had planned the attack for months. And even more shocking was their motive, that they didn't like her anymore and didn't want to be friends with her. To this day, Sheila has never shown any remorse to what she did to her best friend and is seen as the evil ringleader and was sentenced to life in prison. Due to Rachel's confession, she was sentenced to 30 years in prison. She was up for parole very recently, but it was denied. But I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Do you really think that two 16-year-old girls would brutally unalive their best friend just because they didn't want to be friends with her anymore? I feel like there has to be more into this story.
She must have been out of her head.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and we'll be talking about disturbing facts so sinister I stopped sleeping.
Okay.
Number 1, since the 1980s, there's been estimated over 220,000 unsolved serial killers in the United States. Number 2, when Disney first opened the new Pirates of the Caribbean ride in the 1960s, for props, they used real human skeleton remains. They claimed that the real ones were so much better than the props that they had. Eventually, they filtered them out and got fake ones. Number 3, Mount Everest is not only the highest viewpoint in the world, but it's also the highest graveyard. It's estimated that there are over 150 bodies buried in the snow.
Disturbing facts you wish you never knew. You have tiny skin mites that come out at night and do the thing on your face. A 10-second kiss on the lips can pass on 80 million bacteria, some unknown to scientists. Good thing you don't have to worry about that. Certain kinds of tuna called teratoma can cause your body to grow teeth and hair around it. When Eskimo babies have colds, their mother sucks the snot out of their nose with their mouth. Yummy. People who stay up at night are more likely to become psychopaths compared to those who sleep early. So please go to sleep now.
First of all, the fact that he just called... Thank you what he said, man. He just had to call y'all ain't have no freaking... Y'all got a girl right there, bro. And the fact that they said... the mom sucks the snot out of the nose, the kid nose. That's like the completely different level. I never knew that was happening, man. The more you know.
Disturbing facts about Disney that will leave you shocked. 18-year-old actress who voiced Snow White was paid less than $1,000 to do it. She also was not credited. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland used real skulls in its set design when it first opened. Actress who played Lilo in Lilo and Stitch also played Samara in The Ring. Part of your world was almost cut from The Little Mermaid because the chair of Walt Disney Studios was afraid that kids would think that the song was boring. Don from Beauty and the Beast in the 1995 version was the first male villain in any Disney princess movie. After Finding Nemo came out, there was a problem with kids around the world flushing their fish down the toilet so that they could go back to the ocean. The music on the It's a Small World ride never, ever turns off. Follow for more facts.
Why doesn't it turn off,
But
bro?
what exactly is going on here? Why are these artists so comfortable with telling you guys that you're going to hell?
So let me explain something real quick. Before everybody starts screaming and saying, oh, like I told y'all earlier, you motherfuckers enter the rapture. And if ain't nobody flying up to heaven right now, obviously all y'all motherfuckers going to hell. Right with me. So, let's get it. I'm so sorry, you can't get out. You're stuck. It's over. You heard the song a billion times and you didn't even know.
And then say you're still going to listen to their music anyway, so why even bring it up?
We bring up people say like devil worshiper or anything, like how's the music? Because it'll be a motherfucker that'll be like, Boozy, get with God. And then I'll drop a song and like, damn.
Comment amen right now to ward off any evil spirits coming from these videos. And what's up with everybody doing this hand symbol? Like, this was never a trend. I never saw any of my friends doing this pose. What does it mean, and what are you trying to say? And I don't want to hear this just a pose. It's not like the peace sign. And check this out.
I was hitting a block, right? I was like, oh, I'm not doing it right? So I went in the corner, and then I was looking at the wall, and I was like, come on, devil, right? Come to me, because I had to do something like crazy, right? I had nightmares for a month.
So let me get this straight. You really need to call upon the devil in order to help you act better for a role. Again, we can't act oblivious like something weird isn't going on here. But let me know, am I tripping? Am I crazy? And make sure to follow because part 2 is about to get a lot more crazy.
Is there more to that theory, Seekers? He was bringing up very valid points, man. All the signs are pointing to it. We just gotta be able to see it.
NASA have just announced the discovery of an Earth-sized planet that they say could be habitable. It's called TOI 700e, fucking great name. It's 95% of Earth size, likely rocky, and it falls within what they call the Goldilocks habitable zone. This is apparently where the distance between the planet and the star that it orbits is at a perfect point that can sustain liquid water, meaning that the conditions could be just right for life to exist. So the question is this just overhyped, or is 2023 about to get
4 of the most horrifying things we've ever found on beaches. Number 1, a sack containing 54 severed human hands. I don't really know, I don't have words to describe how horrifying this is, and I could not imagine just like finding a bag on the beach and opening it up and be like, oh look, human hands, but this happened in Siberia. Number 2, famine victims. Basically a bunch of human bones washed up onto a beach, and they were actually from something called a coffin ship, which were a bunch of ships that kind of left Ireland during the potato famine where everyone was starving to death and dying, and we found some human bones on a beach. Number 3, a dead sperm whale filled with plastic. Now that might not sound horrifying, but if you think about it, there's so much plastic in the ocean that it took down the largest toothed predator currently on our planet. That is horrifying that it is that present in our ocean and that deadly. For the Montauk Monster, people hypothesize that this deformed looking creature was everything from a chupacabra to the missing link, but basically it's just a really deformed raccoon. As horrifying as that looks, it's just literally a trash bin.
Man, I think the first one for that's a chilling story, bro. 54 human hands. Just imagine you just walking one day on the beach, bro, with your family, man. A bag washes up, you open it, it's full of human hands. How would you guys act? I mean, that much plastic in the water there, yeah, it took down the whole whale.
Disturbing facts you didn't want to hear, part 2. Many doctors say that the most common last words they hear are, I don't feel so good. Most laugh tracks you hear in TV shows were recorded in the 1950s, meaning that the people you hear laughing are probably dead. During the French Revolution, it was said that the guillotine had to be used multiple times to get the job done. The reason that planes shut off their lights right before they land is so that passengers' eyes can adjust to the dark just in case there's a crash. This is so if the power goes out during the crash landing, they can better find an escape route.
Whatever you do, do not answer this phone call. This is John Pork. Now, he's supposedly a CGI-generated influencer with an unsettling appearance. He seems to be half man, half swine. The creature posts videos of himself dancing and traveling around the world to popular tourist locations. But this is where things get scary. You see, John used to call everybody, but nobody would answer. Before he was sadly unalive. Yeah, John is no longer with us. He had went out for a night of fun, and tragically was unalived. After this, people have been getting strange calls from a haunting contact that says John Pork. And if you answer, this is what happens. Before I tell you, I know this food look good, I'm sorry. I can't share. But here's what we're gonna do. Your fourth act has to make or buy you food for the rest of this month, since I made you suffer. Let me know who it is. Supposedly, if you answer the call of John Pork, you'll summon him from the dead, and at midnight, he'll appear.
I got called by John Pork?
These are facts that will make your skin crawl, part 1. Up first, did you know that women can actually give birth after death? It's extremely rare, but it's called coffin birth. Up next, everybody has definitely heard of the 5-second rule, and probably applied it in your life at least once. But did you know, in those 5 seconds, minor insects can still crawl on your food after you drop it on the floor, pick it up, and then eat it. Up next, if a black cat looks at you, and then suddenly runs away, it means that something unusual is about to happen to you. So if this happened to you recently, then I recommend just staying in your room and not leaving. Finally, did you know that a cockroach can live 9 days without its head before it starves to death? This is absolutely crazy, and as weird as this sounds, I have to see it to believe it.
Me too, 9 days. The story to him, that's the only one that always comes back to mind, where they said they lived a day without his head. But 9? I might be pushing it. I'll have to see that to believe it.
Truth Through Media Part 4. At the end of the Men in Black movie, they zoom out to show the viewers the immense size of the universe, and then show our universe within a marble, and a being throwing this marble, and then picking up our marble with our universe in it, and putting it in a bag full of other marbles. This was not by accident. Now, don't forget that scientists around the world are now disclosing, including NASA, that the universe is a living being and they're working to understand it. So really, we are small, puny creatures living inside or on a giant creature. Just like the cells in our body, how they have lives of their own, including the bacteria and viruses within us, we are the same in a way. But this is what I mean by science is working to understand it, because even people that channel extraterrestrials say that they don't even fully understand the life of this grand being.
I think this is so cool because it doesn't just say that we live in a giant being, but that everything small is just a small version of something big. Now y'all see why I'm a nerd, right? This is me thinking. Really, we don't fully understand what this greater being is and how it lives and why we live within inside of it. All we know is that it exists.
Here are 3
That's
horror games that
crazy
will
to think
actually
about.
terrify you, with number 1 being the scariest of the 3 games. At number 3, we have The Pony Factory. A machine from hell turns people into disgusting abominations that resemble horses. You have a nail gun and you have to take them out, but here's the catch. The game is dark and you can only either hold your flashlight or your gun at a time. Number 2 is The Prototype. You have to test a children's robotic toy and things start to go wrong. As you play, more of the story is revealed, and this is the part of the game that's actually scary. I won't spoil the story here, but I have a full playthrough of this game on my channel if you're interested. And at number 1, we have Slide in the Woods. Man, this game. You're in a park and you slide down the slide over and over again. But then the more times you go down the slide, the more things start to change in the world around you. Like at first it was daytime, and then all of a sudden it's night. And then once when you slide down, everything changes and it is terrifying. This game is free. Please try it out for yourself and go in blind.
Got China's Game Seekers. Whoa, what the hell? Pictures that have different meanings.
Fun facts until the Orbeez overflow. If there was a zombie apocalypse, we'd be outnumbered 15 to 1. There was a chicken named Mike that lived for 18 months with no head. Yellowstone volcano would cover almost the entire country if it erupted, and it's well overdue. There's a brain-eating organism known as Naegleria fowleri that lives in lakes and rivers in southern United States. Only one man survived the electric chair, and he said death tastes like peanut butter. Ladybugs eat half their larvae to ensure the survival of the other half, like a natural Thanos. And it looks like I'm out of time. Follow for more fun facts.
Tap in, you're gonna learn with us, man.
So I found these
blow your mind.
conspiracy theories that are so believable, they actually might be true.
Talk about it.
Number 1, studies show that cats understand human commands but don't care to follow them. Yeah, I don't like cats. I'm a dog kind of guy. Number 2, it is believed that when you die in a dream, you wake up because your brain doesn't know how to process the idea of what comes after death. Could be. I believe it. Number 3,
I believe that
now
too.
this is scary. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Googled Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not the websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. I mean, I did see an article about this that was published in 1995. Not sure if this is true or not, but I do believe it. This is where it gets freaky. Number 4, Mike Tyson's fight, Time Traveler. This fight was in 1995. If you look closely, you can see that that could be a smartphone. In fact, it does look like a smartphone to me. There were no smartphones in 1995. This is how phones used to look like in 1995. They didn't have cameras. They barely had any color. But this thing double flashed, exactly like how an iPhone or an Android would take a picture. I don't know about time travel, but this is very interesting. I'd really like to know what this thing was. What's the creepiest conspiracy theory that you heard of?
That Mike Tyson one kind of got to me. I'm like, yeah, you saw the freaking flash going off, and we saw the pictures of the phone, so how the hell did somebody have access to a phone like that? Time travel confirmed? And that Disney Frozen one got to me. That won't surprise me at all, man, if that's the reason behind it. Big corporations want to distract us from the
Let's
truth.
talk about the terrifying lore surrounding the various creatures of the horror game Iron Lung. It's important to start with the fact that Iron Lung takes place entirely underneath the surface of a blood ocean on the moon. And this blood ocean is thought to be completely empty. However, it's not empty at all, and the first creature I want to talk about is this one right here. This is the one that burst through your ship at the very end of the game, but he's actually seen much earlier. So it's implied that he follows the path of your submarine through the entire game. Next is the most iconic moment of the game when you first see this eye on your camera. It belongs to a giant whale-like creature, but how do we know that? The giant whale skeletons on the surface of the blood ocean tell us that there might be many of these creatures, and this portal into the void gives us an idea of where they might be coming from.
Oh, okay. Not a scary game.
Hey, remember this nonsense, the cheetah gator? Yeah, this was real, and there was a time where it was everyone's problem. Its actual name is the Pasukas, and his hood is in what is now South America and Africa. And the memes are true. He was a land op, meaning he would run his prey down. Scientists believe the Pasukas would have galloped after its prey. Luckily for everything around it, it was actually a mini-me that only grew to about 3 to 5 feet long, and it probably only ate small lizards, mammals, and dinosaur hatchlings. Now, if this guy pulled up on you, it would be a very different movie. Caprosuchus saharicus was a 23-foot middle finger with teeth that looked like it belonged to a feral pig, which is actually why they were nicknamed the boar croc. And unlike crocodiles today, whose eyes are at the top of their head, the Caprosuchus' eyes were more lateral. You might not realize it, but that's very bad, because instead of just hiding in the water with just its eyes above the surface, this assault weapon with teeth had binocular vision and depth perception, meaning not only was it catching bodies on land, it was probably chasing them down too. And unlike its smaller cousin, it probably clapped dinosaurs. And if Google was right, this 23-foot monster with boar jaws would have been almost as fast as Usain Bolt. They would have attacked you by slamming their snout into you like a sledgehammer. The only reason they're not around today is even nature knows when it's gone too far.
They had to delete him from nature, man. It was getting too
Disturbing
OP.
story about Genie Wiley. The young girl seen in this photo's name is Genie Wiley, otherwise known as the feral child barely able to walk at 13. For her entire life, her father had abused her insanely viciously, keeping her in a makeshift straitjacket and tying her to a children's toilet in a locked room all day. And when she did anything or made any sound that he didn't like, he'd growl at her and bare his teeth like a dog. Under such brutal conditions, Wiley never learned how to walk or speak, which is actually just so inhumane. When this photo was taken of her after she was rescued and taken to a hospital, her life inside a series of abusive institutions was only beginning. Today, Genie Wiley lives in an adult foster care home somewhere in Southern California. Nobody knows about her present condition, but in 2000, somebody hired a private investigator to find her, and they described her as kind of happy.
She was kind of happy in the
Did
end,
you know
man.
people who stay up late and get up late are more likely to become psychopaths? Hello, and here's some creepy facts. Most laugh tracks and shows are from people in the 50s, which means you are hearing the laughter of dead people. If you wake up between 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. for no apparent reason, there's a 90% chance something was staring at you. Lack of sleep will shrink your brain. 70% of your dreams contain hidden meanings. On average, people escape death about 6 times through their life without knowing it. You're always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. Your body is the weakest between 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. as this is the time most people die in their sleep. If you shiver for no reason, then it means a spirit is passing near you. Heartbreak is a real thing known as broken heart syndrome, and the symptoms are similar to a heart attack. Your phone has a very tiny camera that watches your every move. Every time you sneeze, you skip a heartbeat.
Whoa. When you sneeze, you skip a
Let's talk about a disturbing entity in Silent Hill that blurs the line between an angel and a demon. Valtiel. Valtiel's name basically means God's servant, and that's exactly what he does. Throughout the entirety of Silent Hill 3, he follows Heather Mason everywhere, just watching and waiting. But what exactly is he waiting for? Remember, Valtiel is a being that serves God, and the antagonists in Silent Hill 3 are trying to resurrect God by using Heather Mason. So every time the player dies in Silent Hill 3, Valtiel drags Heather Mason off screen and revives her. And at the end of the game, when Heather Mason gets rid of the god growing inside of her, Valtiel steps in and forces the ritual to happen anyway, which births a disfigured version of God. There are also some theories that Valtiel may be related to Pyramid Head in some way, but I'm not too sure about that after researching.
Silent Hill 3 games, man, they're based off of some dark
These are
stuff.
8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. There are thousands of old diseases frozen in the glaciers of the world, and global warming will eventually release them all. If a person dies in their costume at Disney, like Mickey Mouse, they have to be sat down on a bench so it looks like they're resting. Climate change is making spiders bigger. Some female spiders allow their young to eat them alive. Tooth in the eye surgery is when surgeons put a tooth in a blind person's eye to restore their sight. It was pioneered in the 1960s, and it actually works, and it's still being done today.
Whoa.
The chances of a successful CPR outside of a hospital is only 7%. Cell phones are 10 times dirtier than a toilet seat. when you suddenly wake up during the night without any reason, there was someone or something staring at you. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 12.
I can't believe you put a tooth in the eye. It restores your sight, man. How come more people, we haven't heard about this more?
What is the scariest game you've ever played? I get this question almost every time I post a video or stream. And even though I've probably played well over 100 horror games, it's probably something like Dead Space, Outlast, or PT, right? It's actually something you might not have heard of. The scariest game I've ever played is a game called Lost in Vivo. But what makes this game so terrifying? Lost in Vivo takes inspiration from many different horror classics and puts them into one horrifying package. Every different type of scare you can imagine is in this game. It's also one of the only horror games I've ever played that gets scarier the longer you play. If you're not someone that gets scared easily, give this one a try.
You just combined everything into one. I ain't into scary games like that though. That ain't me. That was a creepy
This is one of the most disturbing stories in video game history. Let's talk about the story behind Resident Evil's most tragic character, Lisa Trevor.
Okay.
Our story starts before the events of Resident Evil 1. Lisa Trevor was the daughter of George and Jessica Trevor. George was a big architect in charge of building the Spencer Mansion. And when the family is invited to the mansion to celebrate after its completion, the daughter and mother are kidnapped. They're each given different strains of the progenitor virus that causes their body to go through horrible mutations. Eventually, the mother, Jessica Trevor, is executed after these experiments are deemed a failure. But Lisa is responding well to the virus, and they keep her there for a long time, performing experiment after experiment on her. She was barely even human anymore after all the testing, so they decided to get rid of her. But they couldn't. At this point, Lisa Trevor's regenerative abilities were so great that she was virtually invincible. She would later escape into the Arklay Mountains to live a life of despair and solitude until she met her end in Resident Evil 1.
Damn, those are even into some dark backstories to each character.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Registered nurse Shirley Smith said that she had a very rich patient who was a true Satanist that was dying of cancer. The patient had upside-down crosses and a Satan's Bible by her bedside. Shirley said that she will never forget what happened. It was the middle of the summer, and yet it was so cold and dark in her room that you couldn't even stand it, even in the middle of the day. She said that it got so evil feeling in there that she had to call a priest to pray with her and her aides before they would even enter the room. When the patient passed away, she had not spoken in over 24 hours. And then all of a sudden, she sat straight up and said, "Satan, take me." And then she fell back on the bed. Shirley said that after she passed, the room got bright and extremely warm. Shockingly, when they moved the patient's body, they had to get rid of the mattress because where her body had been, it looked burnt. And the most horrible smell was emanating from the mattress cover. Needless to say, Shirley went to confession immediately because she did not want an evil spirit around her. A nurse said that one of their patients had a serious recurrence and had to be admitted. Over the course of several nights, he had become quite upset during rounds. He kept asking for his wallet, saying that he had to pay the ferryman. The medical student on rotation in the department took a quarter out of his pocket and put it in the patient's hand. The patient then dropped the coin into the cup on his bedstand and calmed down. Later that night, he passed away quietly. The nurse asked what happened. The medical student, who remembered his Greek mythology, said that the patient had to pay Karen, the ferryman, to be taken across the river Styx. A nurse said that he was doing rounds at a hospital. There was one two-patient room, and one of the patients was a very loud and confused woman who could be quite a handful. On this particular night, she had a roommate who had passed away shortly before the nurse entered the room. She was DNR, so there was no code blue. When he entered the room, he noticed that the elderly lady, who was usually very loud and confused, was sitting quietly with her hands crossed neatly upon her lap. Something was different, and there was this look of serenity on her face. She asked him in a voice that seemed much younger and clearer than before. "Did you see them, young man? They're so beautiful." He said, "No, ma'am, there's no one else here." She said, "They're right next to you, talking to Mrs. Banneker. The angels. They're so beautiful." He said that he instantly felt every hair of his body stand up, and an electric tingle course up and down his spine. "They're not here for me this time," she said sadly.
This girl got cut
What are they here for,
2,000
then?
pieces, and this is a massive trigger warning. On January 19th, 1996, the mutilated remains of Diao Aquing, who disappeared 9 days prior, were found across multiple locations in China. Her body had been dismembered into over 2,000 pieces. The case remains unsolved, and it's one of the most notorious crimes in Chinese history. On January 10th, 1996 in the evening, Diao and her college roommate were punished for the illegal use of an electric appliance. After a conflict with the dormitory management, she left the building and did not return. Diao was last seen alive wearing a red coat with a black lining. She was reported missing, but her family was not notified by the authorities until January 19th. The discovery of Diao's remains in the winter of January 19th was first reported by a sanitary worker. Initially, he thought it was pork, so he brought it home for food. And while preparing the meat for himself, 3 human fingers were found in it. The worker then reported the discovery to the police, and they confirmed they were human fingers. Human remains in plastic-wrapped packages were eventually discovered across 8 locations around the university, including at a stadium, entrance gate, hospital, and along roadsides. The police later confirmed that the scattered remains were of Diao's and informed her father to visit Beijing. Between January 20th and 30th, Diao's head and clothes were found. More than 2,000 human remains were recovered. Diao's head and internal organs were boiled for several days. Crucial organs including the heart, liver, and spleen were never found. The forensics team was only able to identify the remains as belonging to a female through the analysis of body hair and muscle tissue. Relatives of Diao were able to identify her through a mole on her right cheek. A senior officer involved in the case described the killing as really cruel, which in my opinion is a nice way to put it. The officer also added that the pieces of flesh were dissected with high precision, only achieved by an individual with great understanding of anatomy. Police concluded that the murderer must have been a professional butcher or surgeon. Teachers and students then became the subject of investigation. 2 suspect profiles were brought up, including a single physical fit middle-aged male. However, the university department could not find any individuals that matched the characteristics of the profile. A major investigation was launched in the university and the areas around, but no major clues of the crime were found, and the case failed to make any progress. In 2016, Nanjing police told the family of Diao that the case is still under investigation. Okay, so let's talk about this case for a second. If the killer was never found and he had the skill to dissect somebody into 2,000 pieces and never get caught with it, don't you think he might be a serial killer? And if he was, how many more people do you think he murdered after Diao? The dedication and skill, and honestly the obsession to cut somebody into 2,000 pieces and not get caught with it is crazy. This person could be walking around the streets of China today doing the same things to other people that he did to Diao. The thought of that is absolutely disturbing, and may Diao rest in peace.
You never know, man. For the crew Peephole. I feel like karma's gonna get him in the end, man. The energy will always find a way to come back to you. It may take a while, but it's gonna come to you in the end. You can't avoid it forever. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys follow me on all my social medias down below. Hit that post notification bell, man. Also, man, don't forget to hit that like button on each and every single video I'm dropping, man. Like I said, and enjoy it, because I think this is going to be the last one for doing daily uploads. I kind of want to switch it up for you guys, man. Like I said, man, we're trying to check off in this algorithm, so I really appreciate the support. Thank you guys for joining me on my journey. You guys can catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.